somewhere between like 2009, 2011, I touched on it a little bit.
You had heard of it.
And kind of seen a little bit of it, and then whenever I was in college, I studied kinesiology and was planning on, I actually wanted to go be like a college strength and conditioning coach. And then just during that time, I kind of did some of the kind of classic workout stuff, some bodybuilding, and that allowed for me to start using some straps and some modifications and things like that to do some movements and start gaining some strength in this left arm. So when I was in high school, like in the weight room, I would just do like all single arm stuff.
Yeah.
And it definitely started causing some imbalances, some strength imbalances, and I had some back problems, and I think it was all rooted in kind of the lopsidedness that I had developed from being an athlete. So then, just a couple years into college, me and my buddy just kind of started doing some CrossFit workouts just for kind of something different. We were looking to do some conditioning, and
did you find, when you say like you were finding main site workouts?
Yeah, main site. Like, it's actually kind of funny. Like whenever I look back, like knowing what I know now, I think there was a stretch where, like every week, I would do Filthy 50 and Fran. Just like try to PR every single week, because I just like.
But you also can.
I did. Like by 4 minutes on Filthy 50, like every week.
Until you get to a certain level, and then you're like, no.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we just kind of started teaching it to ourselves, and that forced me to, again, I think it was just a competitive mindset of like, I want to be able to deadlift. So I figured a strap out that I could situate it on the bar, hold on to it with my arm, and do deadlifts. And then
what's your deadlift PR?
Deadlift PR is like 405.
Okay. Is it limited by your ability to hang on?
Maybe a little bit, but not really. I just have a weak ass posterior chain, I think, because I can back squat like 425, 430. Yeah. I've cleaned 325. I've snatched I've snatched 245.
Yeah.
So I have like some decent strength
like
numbers.
A squatter more than a puller.
Definitely. Like my femur length and tibia length kind of works out for squatting a little bit better. And like I said, it was something that I did in high school. I could back squat. Of the compound lifts that we were doing, like training for football, I could always back squat. So I would just spend a lot of time squatting when I was younger.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what were the skills as you were getting into it that were like that came the most naturally and that required the most like skill adaptation or ingenuity to figure out how do I get this done?
I mean, I think like just everything has almost just been like a progression on top of each other. So like I figured the deadlift thing out, and I was like, okay, this is great. And I spent a lot of time like working on strengthening my deadlift and getting used to holding onto the strap and everything. And then that progressed into being able to do power cleans, because I realized if I pull hard enough and I explode my hips, that then I can turn that bar over and my arm can reach through and I can catch the bar up on my shoulder.
Do you hang on to? Oh yeah, I've seen you. The strap does stay on.
Strap does stay on.
Touch and go power cleans.
Yeah, when I first started doing it, I hadn't got that timing down where I could hold onto the strap. So it was always singles, just one rep at a time. And so then, power cleans progressed into figuring out that I could clean, and then I could situate my arm, and then do like an overhead.
Yeah.
And then that developed into, I realized if I could shorten the strap up a little bit and widen my grip out a little bit, I can turn that into a snatch. And so those movements, the barbell movements, kind of progress on top of each other. As I got proficient at one, it was kind of like the foundation to then build on to like the next more complex thing. And then for like pull-up bar movements, those were probably the most challenging for sure. So it again just started with realizing like I could put that strap on the pull-up bar.
At first, were you like strong enough to just hang?
Yeah, I was strong enough to hang, but not much more than that.
Like I couldn't do a pull-up.
Yeah, it definitely took a long time of just developing some pulling strength and doing like lat pull downs and rows and stuff like that to develop some of the scapular stability. Like this, for a long time, this left shoulder was like hypermobile. Like I could
around the 144 to 177,
stuff like that. So it just
round
wasn't
one
very strong in hanging.
Was around
movements.
147.
A single arm pull-up is like one of the most advanced gymnastics skills. Not that you're only pulling with one arm. Kind of.
Yeah, and for a while it kind of was. But then I realized that if I continued allowing for my left arm to be limited, that it was going to actually, in the long term, probably hinder me a little bit. So I forced myself to recreate that pattern and build some of the strength around my left shoulder complex to where I was pulling a little bit more evenly, so that it wasn't stressing my right shoulder out too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that started with just getting chin over bar pull-ups, and then I started figuring out like butterfly patterns and how I could kind of situate myself to do those. It was the Open in 2016. It was the first time that I ever did the Open. And my only goal was to do all the workouts RX. And so the first workout of that was the overhead lunge, burpee, and chest to bar workout. Like I had never done chest to bar pull-ups before because I was just never strong enough to do that, to get all the way up. So I ended up figuring it out and just did singles basically the whole time in that workout. And then that, just knowing that I had that potential in me, led me to just work on them until I could cycle butterfly chest to bar pull-ups. And
how many can you do now? 5 years later.
I did a workout a couple months ago that was 33, 27, 21, 15, 9 chest bar pull-up and calorie ski, and I was able to do all those sets unbroken. So I don't know, I could probably do 40 or 45 unbroken butterfly chest bar pull-ups.
My brain is all over the place because this is like, I watched you train with the guys on site yesterday, and I was like, man, his fitness, if there were not skills of requiring both arms, it seems like if I write a workout that was 400-meter run, box jump over, and biker, something that doesn't require a second hand to be as proficient in. Are you beating or competitive with games athletes in this?
In some movements, I'm competitive. And like you said, with running is one that I'm pretty strong in because I was a middle long distance runner growing up. Like jumping movement, box jump overs and box jumps and stuff like that. I'm like what I would consider to be close to elite level on that.
Double unders, are they the same speed, number of reps per minute? I feel like
they're a
113.
little bit slower.
Okay.
They're a little bit slower, and it's one that I actually get grip limited on. With that
it's a lot of
single,
motion,
it's very much grip and bicep limitation on that.
This is easier, with gravity.
It's a little less muscle endurance limitation on a normal jump rope. Toes to bar is a move. Toes to bar and GHGs
8:15
and
we go.
pistols and things like that. I'm
1 minute.
pretty close to on
Round
par
4.
with a lot of the games level
145
athletes.
to 147 for round
I
3.
would definitely say I'm an aerobic responder, so high power output. The elite guys are going to be able to beat me on things
if
like
it's
that.
short, 2 minutes. Or,
If it's short, I just don't have that. It's something that I work on all the time of cyclical power output and fast-paced, high-intensity intervals and things like that. Like the quarterfinals workout with the
snatch and burpee.
the GHD sit-up, rope climb pistol, something like that. I was 134th in North America on that workout because I can do big high volume GHDs, I can do big high volume pistols, and it wasn't enough rope climbs that was really a huge limitation for me. So certain things I'm fairly competitive with the field.
Can you do legless rope climbs?
I cannot.
Okay.
No.
I saw you clamping while you were up there. It looked like you had a clamp with your hand and your arm.
Yeah.
And I was wondering. I was laying down getting therapy. So I could see super close.
I've tried to do almost just like a kip, like a pull-up
Kip
kip
and reach.
and catch, and it's just not. It's very sketchy. Yes. When I do rope climbs, I just basically grip the rope with my right hand and then just kind of anchor my left arm on top of my hand so that I can pull a little bit with my left arm. And then I just rely on being able to jump really high and be really good at toes to bar where I can pull my feet up really high on the rope and
stand
clamp
up.
and stand back up.
Yeah.
So I can do 15-foot rope climbs in 2 pulls.
Yeah.
And that was definitely one that took a while to gain that grip strength. I was just
confidence in your brain being that high and your strength and all
it
of
was
that.
it was a totally different strength limitation on my right arm than what I had ever done doing everything pronated. Going here, I was just weak. I just couldn't support myself for very long. So I spent a lot of time doing the Spanish wrap with my legs, which is just slower, but it's a little less, tighter endurance. And then over time, I've just kind of developed the J hook rope climb pattern to be a little bit faster and smoother on those. So.
Man, I feel like 5 years is a really short period of time to develop the level of skill that you've gotten. Even taking the like the ingenuity out of it. I think
113.
that your development from
144 to
2016,
145
if that was your
pace.
first open to now, is
One
just,
more round,
like,
baby.
I mean, that's just impressive physical adaptation.
Yeah, and I mean, I probably had 2 years of training, of just training
okay, so it's
prior
really been
to
like
that.
almost
It's been
7
about
years.
7, yeah.
Okay.
About 7 years that I've been doing
I'm not impressed anymore.
CrossFit. But again, I think it goes back to just like developing one thing, becoming extremely proficient at it, and then using the principles and patterns that I've gained from that to then progress up. So then like that same Open 2016, the third workout was the AMRAP of 75-pound power snatches
Yep.
and bar muscle ups.
Yeah.
And so I figured out that I could do a bar muscle up by swinging my arm over the top of the bar. I would catch it in my armpit, which I think at the time wasn't even within the standards, but I went ahead and submitted a score because it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And then like shimmy my arm up on top of the bar and then press it out. And then that kind of developed into being able to fluidly catch my arm on the bar and press up. And then that developed into being able to hold onto the strap, catch myself, press up, and then cycle back into the next rep. So yeah, I think
It's
just
almost been like a
time and
continual
practice.
development of
Yes,
each thing. How
absolutely.
much of your training is just like figuring it out skill work? 'Cause I'd imagine like you would need like hours of just like sitting around and even just messing with your setup, getting the
Yeah.
strap length right.
Yeah.
Like how much of that was your training versus like hard CrossFit?
At this point, not very much anymore. At this point, I've been able to shift and just really focus on the capacity and the training and and, improving my metabolics and my mechanics and everything. Whereas, yeah, I mean, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, I was spending just sessions working on pull-up bar movements or just sessions working on getting comfortable catching that snatch overhead and then getting kind of strong in those positions. Yeah, so at this point, I'm pretty much just training. I've with what I need to be able to do, I have all those tools in the toolbox, and now to me, it's just about like optimizing my
Making it better,
capacity,
sharpening,
making it
stronger.
learning how to make dynamic contractions aerobic, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what was the total volume over the past
107.
like in early stages and now? Were you doing like 4 hours a day, 6 hours a day, one session a day?
I have fluctuated quite a bit, just depending on my life and what things I have going on. Through college, I was
107.
pretty most of the time in college. I was one session a day. I had some times where I started doing 2
134
sessions a day. That would be
to
one
136.
session would be kind of like a strength focused session. Another session would be maybe like skill and aerobic stuff.
Yeah.
Now at this point, I'm pretty much year round 2 sessions a day, and those sessions are anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. So I'm probably training 3 to 4 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, pretty much year round at this point.
So as an athlete, you might not have an answer to this question because when people ask me, I don't always know for sure.